Hello again. I hope I'm not a cynical or a suspicious man, but when I keep seeing the same number crop up year after year in connection with a subject, although in many varying contexts, then I'm naturally intrigued. I noticed yesterday that this was happening once again with reference to refugees and asylum seekers coming to this country. As usual, the number being bandied about was 20,000. I think that some committee must have decided upon this number after debating for months. It's not large enough to sound too alarming, but neither is it so small as to be ridiculous. After all, 20,000 is fewer than half the number of people who arrived in this country illegally last year by sailing across the English Channel. Surely that's not too great a number to accept, provided that we close down all the other routes to claiming asylum in this country. This at least was a demand being made by some MPs yesterday when the new plans were being made to stem the flow of illegal immigrants entering the country. Here's the headline in yesterday's newspaper about the idea. See? Now, who could possibly object to safe routes for just 20,000 refugees a year? My problem is, as I said, that the number looked awfully familiar, and as soon as I set eyes on it, I smelled a rat. In the description to this video, I give a link to a briefing paper published 2 months ago by the House of Commons Library. It is called UK Immigration Routes for Afghan Nationals, and as soon as you look at it, your eyes are drawn irresistibly to this line. The Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme aims to resettle in the UK up to 20,000 people over the next few years. Gosh, there's a coincidence. That same figure of 20,000 was being bandied about in connection with asylum in this country 2 months ago on January the 26th. Interesting. The next link I give dates back 8 years, and it's from the City of York's website. It concerns support for refugees and contains the following sentence. In 2015, the UK government committed to resettle 20,000 refugees by 2020 under the Global Resettlement Scheme. Just fancy. 8 years ago, and that same magic number was being used, 20,000. A curious coincidence, no? What about this from the government website? A fact sheet. Whether the word used in this context is being used ironically, I could not say. But the document is entitled Vulnerable Persons and Vulnerable Children's Resettlement Scheme Fact Sheet, March 2021. And we read, the VCRS, which was the largest resettlement effort aimed specifically at children at risk from the MENA region, was in addition to the government's commitment to resettle 20,000 refugees from Syria. Golly, how weird. There's that same number again. One final incident should be sufficient to make the point. I give a link to a piece from the Daily Telegraph from a year ago in March 2022. The headline reads, Priti Patel to allow up to 20,000 more Ukrainian refugees into UK. Now, I do not as a rule give much credence to conspiracy theories, but in this case I am unable to persuade myself that this figure of 20,000, which always crops up whenever refugees to this country are being discussed, is purely coincidental. When I saw the headlines yesterday about these safe routes being demanded for 20,000 refugees a year, I actually started chuckling because it was so predictable. I think at some stage a group of people really has sat down and decided what would be a good figure to be used when discussing immigration or asylum seekers, and that 20,000 was struck upon as a good compromise. By the by, it's not only Britain which uses this handy and quite false statistic. You'll see it cropping up in various contexts relating to refugees in the United States and Canada as well. It really does seem to be the most popular figure to use in any discussion on refugees and asylum seekers in the Western world.